Hey, this is TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd, and you're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast, established 2019, direct from the North Wales coast. His verbal skills definitely outweigh his wrestling ability. It's time for British wrestling's sharp shooter, your host, Stu Palmer!
It's episode 43, and my guest this week is Mr. Simon Hill, the host of Keep It Locked. He's just rebranded the podcast, used to be Gone Gold, it is now Keep It Locked. And he's had some superb guests on internationally and nationally here in the UK. He's had quite the array so far. His show goes out weekly, so keep your eyes peeled for that. There'll be tags and posts for his show when we post all this out as well, so you'll be able to find it. Simon has had a long career in broadcasting. He worked at Kerrang Radio. He was on Tim Shaw's evening show, The Late Show, for many, many years. He's done stuff with esports, with gaming as well, hosting events. And he has also worked for BBC, behind the camera and in front of the camera. So he's had a lot of experience within the broadcasting world. So here we go, episode 43, with the host of Keep It Locked, Mr. Simon Hill. Enjoy. It is my absolute pleasure to have the host of Keep It Locked, and also the backstage interviewer and host of TNT Barbed Wire, Mr. Simon Hill, on video this afternoon. How's it going, Simon?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. Appreciate the invite. How are you doing?
All good, man. All good. Just ticking along, mate, you know?
You've been a busy boy, man. I've seen that you're getting loads of these out.
I'm trying my best. We had a bit of a break when I spoke to you the other day, privately, obviously. So it was like 3 or 4 weeks there, no interviews. And I missed it, mate. I missed not having anything, you know, on the old calendar. So yeah. Been hammering a load.
And now you're back in.
Been hammering a load. You're in amongst the big load, mate. So.
Oh, mate. No, thank you very much, dude. I appreciate it.
How's the time been during lockdown, Simon? That's my first question at the moment.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's not been too bad. Like, I'm missing a lot. You know, missing kind of being on you know, TV, live radio, and stuff like that. Missing the wrestling, dude. Missing doing all the backstage stuff. But yeah, I've kept busy, man. Like, I've been doing a lot of, you know, obviously the podcast has kept me really, really busy. You know, so doing that every week's been really cool. But I mean, apart from that, I mean, the gym's been the hardest thing, dude. I'm one of those who goes to the gym 5-6 days a week, tries to keep up with the wrestlers. I'm not very good at it. But yeah, it's just one of those, mate, that I've missed that so much.
It's cool. It's cool that you put the gym in there. I like that. Nice touch.
Mate, I'll do it.
Nice touch. Committed as well, I suppose, when they're back open.
Oh, absolutely. I've told all of my family, friends, and girlfriend, everything. You're not going to see me as soon as these are back open. Like, morning and night, mate. I'm going to be there.
Right, into the wrestling now. I'm going to go way back here. When did you first start watching pro wrestling?
Man. So Superstars. When I was very, very young, used to be on a Saturday morning. I remember watching this big, bald guy wrestling, and I was like, oh, man, this is so cool. And it was obviously Big Daddy. And I was just like, man, you know, I really started to get into it more and more. I think I had a bit of a break, and then I kind of tapped back in, you know, early WrestleManias, you know, 5 and 6 would be when I kind of caught up. But my biggest memory was, I think it was In Your House 7, which was that Shawn Michaels and Diesel, which was phenomenal. And you obviously had the WrestleMania as well with Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon in a ladder match. And from then I was hooked. I just loved the whole theatrics. I loved the storytelling side of things. And obviously the physicality. When you're young, you're just like, oh my God, like these guys are just kicking 7 shades out of each other. Like, you know, especially that match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, it was so physical. And especially for the early days as well, it was unreal. So yeah, I kind of that's when I started getting serious into wrestling. You know, quite a long time ago now.
You've said obviously about a few guys there, Sean, Razor.
Yeah.
Which guys pulled you in? Which guys did you gravitate to?
Sean, HBK all day. Like that guy, I always wanted to be Shawn Michaels. So when we used to wrestle in the playgrounds, don't try this at home. When we used to wrestle in the playgrounds or around a friend's house or in back gardens, I was always Shawn Michaels. I was always the Heartbreak Kid. I remember I had the old WWF CDs, and we used to get a boombox outside, play the entrance music, and I would do the full spiel and everything. Yeah, it was. Sean was always one of them, in my personal opinion, the greatest performer to ever grace the wrestling industry. Absolutely phenomenal talent.
How was Brett?
But yeah, there was several others. I think. Yeah, you know, I think Sean was definitely the most. The biggest influence on me. Obviously, Stone Cold and The Rock in later years. Chris Jericho. You know, that guy has just gone. I mean, he's 50 years old and he's still doing lion salts. He's phenomenal. He's the true epitome of a rock star. He really is. So yeah, lot of names, lot of inspirations.
Which events in the wrestling calendar did you like? Which ones did you like watching? Which events as a kid?
Obviously WrestleMania, SummerSlam as well. But I think what I find really underrated was Survivor Series, especially in the olden days, because the factions that used to be around, and there were also lots and lots of, like, the talent back in the early days was just, oh man, it was unrivaled. So in a Survivor Series, you would have Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and all these guys, you know, again, going against a roster of Diesel, Razor Ramon, and Sean, and whoever else. It was incredible. So, yeah, I think that I would love them to bring King of the Ring back properly, like full time. Again, you know, if you go back when, like, Stone Cold won it, and Owen Hart and all those guys, like, just phenomenal wrestling. I think that whole era was just like my favourite era. I think Attitude will always, you know, be the most impactful because that's when I started getting into wrestling really serious and really enjoying it. You know, the whole DX, The Rock, the Nation of Domination, things like that. But that whole era of, you know, the King of the Rings and those Survivor Series, like, they're the biggest memories, I think, for me.
I'm with you on that. All these people, Attitude Era was best, and then they talk about it in the current form now, and they slate it. And I was more early 90s, mid 90s myself as well. That was my. I echo your sentiments, mate.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. It is I could talk for hours about this, mate, but we'll save that for a pub chat, shall we?
Yeah, that's fine, man. That's absolutely fine. Which guys, in your opinion, didn't get to the titles who you felt should have got to titles and belts and what have you?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Oh man. I mean, you know, if you want, like, in Attitude Era, like, I don't remember Ahmed Johnson having a big run at the championship, did he? Like, I think that guy was so underrated. You know, a really big character, a really big guy as well, and his moveset was incredible. Going back even further, I don't know, because all of my favourite guys really did have a good run. And I think WWF back then, obviously WWE, like, was such a different place. You know, you were given a chance and it was up to you to take it. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas now there are a lot of favourites. And I feel these days there's certainly a lot of people that didn't get enough eyes. I mean, EC3, who recently got released, how that guy was never in a title picture just baffles me. And, you know, you look at, like, Deonna Purrazzo as well, who's recently gone to Impact.
Yeah.
I mean, again, she could have easily led that women's division in the next couple of years, or for the next few years at least. So yeah, I think more so if you're talking about now, there's certainly a lot more names than there was back in the olden days.
That's cool. That's cool. Right, I want to now go into how the origins of you being a broadcaster and in broadcasting. So obviously, I want to go way back.
God.
Where did your degree come from? Which university were you learning?
Right. Okay. So this is where the story gets a little bit interesting. So, I remember wanting to get into radio. I used to listen to this radio show on Kerrang Radio called Tim Shaw's Asylum, which was the most listened to nighttime show in the country. Even rivaled ratings of then Chris Moore's on Radio 1 in the mornings and things like that. Ratings were very similar. And I really wanted to get into radio because this show was so audacious. It was very adult, a lot of pranks, a lot of prank calls, a lot of weird guests, unusual guests, but it was so funny and it just suited me as a person. So I thought, right, okay, I used to listen to this show religiously 5 nights a week. I was like, right, how do I do this? So, right, I studied media at my local college. And during this radio show, Tim Shaw used to announce on the air, like, if anybody wants to come in and watch the show unfold, get in touch, text us, and this, that, and the other. So I used to text the studio number and go, yeah, I'd love to. And it was like a full-blown production, which you wouldn't believe because obviously you can't see anything that's happening on radio. It's the presenters and a microphone. But the way it all worked was just like this huge production. And I remember I used to go every Monday. I used to be the little guy just sitting in the corner watching it all unfold. And I was just like, man, this is a dream come true for me. And I didn't go over Christmas. I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was like working in retail, like a game or a HMV or something. And I got a call in January from the producer of the show. And she was like, we need a new runner. We know that you know the show and you love the show. Obviously, you've been sat in. Would you be interested in doing it? I was like, holy shit. Like, you want me to come and work for you guys? And they're like, yeah. Like, so I went in, had the trial shift. At first, like, you can probably hear it now, there's a little bit of a Brummy twang, but I used to be really thick accent Brummy. And Tim wasn't fond of me at first. And eventually the producer kept talking around Lucy. She was great. She taught me everything I know pretty much between her and Tim. And yeah, she fought my corner and I kept going back. And in the end, I got the job. And because it was so demanding, I was there 5 days and nights a week. I'd start at like 2 PM and not get home till 2 AM. I had to quit college. So my degree kind of went out the window. I don't know if I regret that because I don't think I would change it now because that was my way into the business and I got to work on the biggest nighttime show in the country where we won Sony Awards, New York Awards, Arcava Awards, everything. And I got to live out a dream and get paid to do it. So I don't think I would have changed it. So I think I made the right decision.
You put the hours in, but it was worth it.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people don't realise that for about 6 months of that, I worked for free. So, and then, in the end, got the contract, which was very lucrative. And it was a great time, man. I had a really good time. And, spent 3.5 years at Kerrang, and it was one of the greatest times of my life. I would love to do like a one night only of Kerrang again. I think that would be awesome. I think that'd be really cool.
What were some of the highlights in the 3.5 years?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. I actually forgot about this until recently. I was reminded. I actually interviewed Mick Foley live on Kerrang, and Tim was meant to do the interview, but he knew nothing about wrestling. So, and he knew that I was a fan. So it was like my character on there at the time was called Donkhole. There's a story behind that. I'll tell you that in a moment. So, he was like, right, Donks, I need you to this interview because I know nothing about wrestling. And I was like, oh, who is it? And he was Mick Foley. I was like, what? I was like, dude, you could have like prepped me beforehand. Like, I've got when is he on? Like, you've got about 40 minutes. Jesus, man, like, what am I meant to do with this? So anyway, we did the interview. I have no idea where it is. Maybe Tim's got it on a hard drive somewhere. But yeah, it was just like, that's certainly one of them. Another one. So this is one that I recently shared on Twitter, actually. So we used to get a lot of the indie wrestlers in as well, because it started picking up in the UK a little bit. And I remember we had Rockstar Spud, which you may know as Drake Maverick, and Dave Mastiff come in, who was just called Bomber Dave, if I remember. And I remember that Tim was advocating for those guys, for me to take a bump live on air. Now, outside of the Kerrang studios is just metal flooring. But obviously we have roaming mics and things like that. And it was like, right, text in, if you want to, hear Donks take a bump live on air. Dude, like 2,500 texts came in, all in favour of me taking a bump off Dave Mastiff onto metal flooring. And so this happened. Don Charles was there as well. I think he was working for the promotion at the time. And anyway, so I was like, right, what do you want me to do? Blah, blah. He's like, nothing. He's like, he told me how to take the bump, because he was just basically just going to slam me. And I thought he was going to be a bit gentle, because we're on radio, no one can really see it. It'll be fine. Obviously, there's photographers there and everything. And no, he went full flack, man. Like he gave me a full bump. And what was worse is Don Charles helped me up, and he was like, "Are you feeling okay?" He's like, "That's what we," he cut a bit of a promo. "That's what we do." And I turned around, and Dave picked me back up and slammed me again straight away. And I missed my next link because I was on the floor gasping for air. So yeah, thanks Dave for that. And now he's killing it in NXT. So yeah, fair play to him. But yeah, so that is another great moment. But dude, there were so many.
Yeah,
I would be here forever.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have to. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it another episode 100%. Down the line. I'm sure. I knew you'd have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I knew you'd have a lot of stories. Just the length of time, get your words out. Length of service you gave Kerrang.
Yeah.
I knew you'd have a lot to say, man. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, absolutely. I guess the only other standout one is when they gave me my own show. That was a real proud moment, because I'd worked hard for that. Obviously, I'd been this, worked my way up to being a assistant producer and on-air personality on this show, and then was rewarded with my own show. So that was phenomenal. So yeah, definitely a proud moment of mine.
I'm going to scoot forward a bit now, Simon.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, because I've done my research, you sent me some stuff to research, background. Now, I read you were with the BBC for a while in a behind the camera capacity and in front of the camera. So how was your time in the BBC? How was that for you?
Yeah, two very different experiences. So the first time I was at BBC was for BBC WM as a broadcast journalist. And I'd be working with Paul Franks, Caroline Martin, the big shows in the Midlands. And yeah, it was great. A lot of pressure, as you can probably imagine. It is as demanding as people think. It's very long hours, but you're surrounded by great people, very intelligent people that know what they're doing. So yeah, as far as being a broadcast journalist, it was fantastic. And I definitely enjoyed my time there. Don't think I'd probably go back behind the scenes at BBC. It's changed a lot over the years. But I hold what I did there as, a real achievement. But in front of the camera, yeah. So that was when I was in my acting phase. I took a break from radio and became an actor. A lot of BBC shows, so Doctors, Line of Duty, Father Brown, By Any Means. Yeah, the list goes on. Doctors was probably the one that I was more notably known for. I was on there for quite a while. And yeah, the BBC are great to work for. They're so much fun, and that show was so much fun to work for because it was very laid back. You were given a lot of creative control. you'd get your script and then you'd go back and forth. And I remember having this fight scene, and it was one of my first times I'd been on Doctors, because my character Danny was a bit of a he was a bit of a loose cannon. He was into drugs and naughty things. So that was a character that I played on Doctors. And there was this scene in a shop where the character was robbing the store, and police had just turned up. So there's this big fight scene between me and the officers. And I remember still having my phone in my pocket, and he wrestled me to the ground eventually, and I pulled my phone out of my pocket between turning takes, and it was smashed. So anyway, I've got the third aid in. I've just gone, oh yeah, can you just have my phone? So we're doing the take again, going around. And she comes into me we're turning the cameras, and she comes into me, she's like, Simon, you okay? And I was like, yeah, what's the matter? She's like, your phone's broken. Being so prideful because I'd just started this role. I was like, oh no, it's been like that for ages. Just brand new iPhone smashed. But yeah, it was a great experience working with those guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Simon, how's the BBC? You said the BBC's changed. How has it? What the changes been?
Well, obviously there was a lot of cuts a few years ago, which kind of tightened things up. So there's, that you're already expected to wear many hats with the BBC. But I feel like that's certainly given some of the guys a lot more pressure to work with. And no, I'm all down for pressure. I built a career out of kind of being stuck under the thumb, I guess. But it's one of those, I feel that, my career's taken a different path this time. So, at the moment, certainly. So, I'm happy where it's going and what I've worked on and what I continue to work on. The BBC was such a great thing for me. It did a lot for my career. And it taught me a lot as a person as well. I changed a lot for the better after the BBC. But I feel, that my career is certainly moving on from that now.
That's cool, man. No, yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm going to get into wrestling now.
Yeah, sure.
How did your role come about with TNT? How did that come to fruition?
So I started ring announcing for, kind of like the smaller promotions, the local community promotions. Being a wrestling fan anyway, you always want to do that. And because I've made a career out of interviewing and, being on TV or radio, it was something that I'd always wondered about, but had no idea how to explore. So now going through the ring announcing, you start to make contacts. And one of them was Johnny Storm, who's, yeah, he's a great guy, and we always have a good time talking and stuff. And yeah, he kind of just advised me on what to do and where to go and things like that. And it was one of those where I kind of knew Steve, who's the production manager at TNT, because we worked in the gaming industry together. And yeah, it was one of those kind of reached out to several promotions. And TNT got back to me, and just everything about TNT appealed to me. This really edgy, cool, it's very unique promotion that has so many talented, not just wrestlers, but people working for them. And, I spoke to Jay Apter, the owner of TNT. Great guy, really intelligent, knows what he wants and how he wants it. And I think that's why TNT has got so far in just such a short space of time. So we had a chat, and it just seemed the perfect fit. But he literally dumped me in the deep end. So he dumped me. My first ever show was DOA, and oh my God, I had light tubes flying in my direction and everything. But to be dumped, I thrive under that sort of pressure, to be honest. So yeah, and it was good. Jay came up to me. He was watching me interview Jack Jester, And I can see him out the corner of my eye, but you have to keep in that moment and stuff. And he came up to me and he just went, "Bloody hell, mate!" He said, "You're really fucking good, aren't you?"
That's the background.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, that's years of blood, sweat, and tears. That is, mate. But yeah, so that was quite a nice moment. And yeah, I obviously did a good job, and he's continued to have me back. So it's one of those where I've been really fortunate. I think TNT Extreme Wrestling is one of those promotions. I mean, their tagline is, the best kept, worst kept secret. It is, because they are the best kept secret. It's just TNT Extreme Wrestling is up there with the best promotions in the UK, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I've worked for them now. It was certainly one that I knew about before I even went in. There's some great promotions out there. Fight Club Pro do incredible things. OTT are just in a league of their own. But I think, TNT are certainly in the same conversations.
Absolutely.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I want to see some more barbed wire. That's what I want.
I'm missing it, dude. I'm missing doing barbed wire. And you know what? It's one of those shows as well that I don't think TNT quite knew what to expect. And neither did I, to be honest. So yeah, going into it, it was really cool. So yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, dude. But yeah, no, I'm missing it myself, man.
No, I wanted you to answer off the back of that. That's what I was after. I wanted Simon Hill's take on it, So
yeah. When it was originally pitched to me that's what they wanted to do, besides kind of get him in as a backstage interviewer, they described it as, I think it was called High Voltage, that WWE used to do on a Saturday or Sunday morning, where Kevin Kelly would recap, what's going on in the world of WWE. There'd be a couple of matches here and there as well. And yeah, that was kind of like the whole concept of they just wanted to do their own spin on that kind of idea. So I was all in, obviously, because I was like, man, that's really cool, because that's what I used to love watching. So being able to bring that content was just like, yeah, that's a win-win. And obviously all the interviews that we do backstage would be featured on there. And it was, I think Jay would be happy to admit that it was a very steep learning curve for all of us involved on how to approach it and how to bring the best out of it. And each episode has gradually improved, and we've added new things here and there. And I think when we come back, it's going to be the best it's ever been. So there's ideas floating around, which I'm so excited, to definitely kind of tuck into. But I think it's one of those, I kind of do these interviews now backstage with barbed wire in mind on how we can connect with the audience more. And I think that's what I've always taken pride in doing with what I do, is you get a lot of people, and you know this yourself, dude, you get a lot of people doing what we do for fame. And I've never done it for that reason, because I'm not, I live in, a beautiful apartment in London, but I'm by nowhere near famous and never will be, because I don't do it for fame. I do it because I love what I do. So every link that I do is because I want to entertain people like yourself, nothing else. So that's why I love barbed wire, because the reception and reaction that we've got has been phenomenal. People stopping us in the crowds and just to say that they love barbed wire, and I'm just like, man, that's why I do it. That's why I love doing what I do.
You and Angus, that was what a dynamic when you and Angus were on camera together. I loved it because I wasn't expecting it. It came up on social media. I was like, what's this? I was like, this is brilliant. you pair together, incredible.
Yeah, he's a good lad, Angus. He's so yeah, it was one of those ideas. I was like, do you know what? So we're bringing barbed wire. We're doing the backstage interviews. Let's do a pre-show, man. Let's hype people up and get people excited and invested in the shows. And I was like, who better? Let's get Mike Angus in. And it was one of those at the start. He was kind of asking how to approach it because of my broadcasting background, and obviously he's a ring announcer, so it's very different, But he took to it like paint took to a wall, He did so well, mate. He's very good at picking things up pretty quickly.
His knowledge, man, I tell you, it's great.
He's been around the business for a long time now, hasn't he?
It's just everything, like, obviously we were all watching it in the same era as kids, and just, reminiscing and all of that things. And it's the comedy. He remembers a lot of the comedy times. Like, obviously, he'll recount some stuff that I couldn't remember, and then it jogged my memory. And
absolutely.
Gotta have a bit of comedy, Simon.
Oh, mate, I Doink the Clown, mate. I used to love Doink the Clown. Like, that kind of era where they had the comic book phase in WWE, I found actually hilarious. A lot of people didn't really like it, but yeah, man, like that was great. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, Angus is so knowledgeable for that stuff.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's that age-old question that we all ponder. Is wrestling fixed? This is Bill Apter, and my answer to that is I didn't know it was broken. So many of you know me from my days back at the classic wrestling magazines, and a lot of you from OneWrestling.com and OneWrestlingVideo.com. But I always get questions about various things I did through the years to propel my career to where it is today as the world's most recognizable journalist in pro wrestling. What was my relationship with the McMahons? Was I the guy who started that feud between the actor, comedian Andy Kaufman and Jerry the King Lawler? What is Ric Flair really like? Who are my favorites? Well, all this and more answered in my book that you can get online or at your favorite book dealer called Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken. It's a great read, got great views, and hopefully you'll be picking it up soon too. So the answer to Is Wrestling Fixed? You know it now. I Didn't Know It Was Broken. This is Bill Apter, and I'll see you at the matches.
GTG, often imitated but never duplicated. Kind of broad at the shoulder, narrow at the hip. No other promotion give us any lip. We the best of the best, the beasts of the East. SOS, simply out of sight. GTG.
What he said, good times guaranteed.
I'm going to get into the podcast now. So obviously, the podcast was known as Gone Gold. Yeah. And now it's Keep It Locked is what you're rebranding it as going forward.
Absolutely.
How has it been? Who's been some of your favourite guests you've had on? Not saying that you're playing favourites, but I'm sure you've enjoyed them all. But
yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed them all for very different reasons. I mean, the rebrand came around because Keep It Locked is quite synonymous with what I've done over the years. So, hosting all the gaming shows and being on TV with the gaming side of things and the stage shows and things like that. That was kind of my saying as I would end every show and every episode. And then, with barbed wire, I'll get people coming. I'll be walking through the crowd during intermissions, and people are going, "Oh, keep it locked," and I'll be like, "Okay." So yeah, it's stuck. So I've got merch out there now that says "Keep it locked," and I was like, do you know what? Like, Gone Gold is a great name, but it's more. It's well known more so for gaming, because obviously when a game is finished, it's gone gold. So I thought, right, okay, for what we're doing with the wrestling thing, because of how much it's taken off, which is insane. Like everyone that listens and downloads my podcast, you guys are insane. Like, I can only thank you. You're absolutely mental, and I really appreciate it. But it's one of those where I was like, right, okay, so I need a smart rebrand here. And I thought Keep It Locked really suits, firstly, what I'm doing, but it's very neutral in what you can do with the brand, and the new artwork is fantastic. I have to give a huge shout out to Lee Hunt, who worked very hard on that artwork and dealt with ridiculous requests from me. But yeah, so in terms of guests, dude, I mean, if you're going to go on the Gone Gold side, everyone was great. Candy Floss, I laughed so much with that girl. She was incredible. She was so bubbly, lively, very outgoing. It was very no holds barred with her. And I mean, as a person as well, Amy's great. She's so lovely and sweet and down to earth. But yeah, I think, that one stands out for me. Mecha Wolf, if I'm able to, if anyone hasn't listened to that episode, now I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of interviews in my time, with very well-known bands, artists, actors, etc. But this interview in particular was one of the most intense interviews I've ever done, because he was so honest. There was a lot going on in his career, and has been going on in his career. That particular interview was so captivating. He talks about that moment that the whole internet spoke about, in 205 Live, between him and Mustafa Ali. Mecha Wolf got injured. Ali shooted some tweets at him that were pretty bad. Mecha Wolf went back. And, it all blown up. And, he was very honest about it. He even, admitted where his wrongs were and things like that. But, again, there's many more stories in that episode. So I think those two stand out for very different reasons. In terms of, moving on to Keep It Locked, Valkyrie is a sweetheart. She is incredible. A-Kid as well. When we did that one, because obviously he was in Spain, we had a chat beforehand, and he was just telling me about the Spanish weather, how Spain's been coping. He's back at the gym and things like that, and he really wants to come back to the UK. But yeah, he was great. Millie McKenzie, Corvin, they've all been fantastic, dude. So I could name them all, to be honest. I've enjoyed them all for very different reasons.
I knew you'd say them all. You can't play favourites. You can't do it, mate. I tell you. That was cool, man. Quite an array of guests as well.
Yeah, very, very different backgrounds, mate. And I think that's what's been really cool about it as well, because what it's like doing this. You wonder how the reception's going to be, don't you?
Yeah.
And how's the next episode going to be received, and the next one, and stuff like that. So it's been interesting, and it's been an eye opener. And like I say, I am so shocked at how the reception's been and how many numbers that have been doing it. It's been insane. So yeah, I mean, just thank you for all the mental people that have taken the time to download the episode and listen and watch and stuff. So yeah, man, it's been cool.
Who would be, if you had like a top 3 list and you could get anybody now, there's no limits here, who would be in your top 3 to come on the show?
Shawn Michaels for sure. Chris Jericho. That man has stories for days. Oh man, who else? There's so many. Maybe someone like AJ. Maybe AJ. I mean, again, that guy has been around every single promotion. Going, he even came to the UK for a very short period, and he's finished his career at the top. So, finishing his career. I know he's he's champion at the moment, but it's one of those where he's finishing his career, at the best place for him. And I think he's had such a storied career. He's wrestled pretty much anyone and everyone. So I think that would be a real fascinating episode. If it was one of those where you could sit down with some mics, camera, chat face to face, I think that would be such a cool interview.
Good answer. I could have said top 5 or top 10. I reckon you'd...
I would have been going for ages, mate.
Top 20, top 20, top 30, easy. I reckon.
Yeah, easy. Oh, absolutely, man. We'd be here for hours.
Right. Obviously, you've got your finger on the pulse with all of wrestling, and obviously predominantly the UK scene, it inside out and backwards, the guys, don't you? So if we say currently on the UK scene, this question will be a 2-parter, I've just decided. In the UK scene currently, which guys do you think are destined for greatness that maybe haven't quite got there yet on the UK scene?
Certainly Big Guns Joe. I think he's phenomenal. The guy has so much heart and desire and passion. I think Millie McKenzie is just born to be a star. I know she turned down an initial approach from WWE to go to Japan, and now she's back. She's doing the indie scene, and she's fantastic, a real talent. Lizzie Evo, Giselle Shaw. There's so many, dude. Tom Thelwell, again, Tom Thelwell, I think, the guy's 17 and he's doing all the stuff he's doing. Like, it's phenomenal. And probably another one, Lycos 2, Joe Nelson.
Yeah, man.
He's already stepping in the ring with Ace Austin, and all these big guys, and taking them on and proving that already he can step in the ring with these big names and hold his own. And again, that guy's 17. You've got to remember, he's only 17. So it's crazy that, Tom Thelwell and Kid Like Us 2, only 17, doing amazing things already. Lizzie Evo, 21. She's already doing amazing things in the North. And I think, by next year, she'll branch out and she'll, probably end up, wrestling for the likes of FCP, Progress, and those sort of guys. There's so many more names, dude, but I think those are definitely the ones that stand out for sure. I do need to give a special mention to Clint Margera, the king of deathmatch in the UK. I think he'll end up back at Japan very soon. He's a good friend of mine. I really have a lot of respect and time for that guy. And I think he will be the biggest thing deathmatch-wise to come out of the UK, for sure.
Right, on the world level now, who on the world level is going to bear fruit, is going to take it to the next level, is going to become the Don, the top man, bathed in gold, bathed in...
oh, man. Oh, there's so many. I don't know. This you put me on the spot with that one. I think you have to I think what a lot of people don't look at, so if you want to go for the women, I would say Miranda Alizé. She's just started doing stuff with Impact. She was at Crash. She's obviously in the Mae Young Classic. She's a phenomenal athlete. Like, you look at some of the stuff, like she was training on a Twitter with Tessa Blanchard, Mecha Wolf, some of the other Crash guys. And you just look how she moves. It's so fluent. So I definitely think she's got a huge, huge future. I struggle with WWE at the moment because there's a lot of guys there that need time that aren't getting it. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly some huge talent. On the women's front again, for me, dude, I don't know if it's the same for yourself. I love watching women's wrestling at the moment. I think the absolute blood, sweat and tears and passion they put into their matches is incredible. I just think it's so well done.
Sorry to cut in. My match, WrestleMania weekend, Ripley versus Flair was my match of the weekend. Just going off what you're saying about the women, that's not me just firing that in. There was great matches all weekend. Boneyard was amazing. Firefly, Funhouse, amazing. But Rhea and Charlotte, for me, was the match of the weekend. Sorry, I cut in.
Yeah. No, don't apologize. I completely agree. And, that first ever time as well at WrestleMania when the triple threat, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha?
I was there for that one.
Yeah. That match was a show stealer.
Yeah. Absolute
show stealer. I'm trying to think of the guys. Adam Cole, I think, speaks for himself. That guy is he is the next Shawn Michaels, isn't he? He's just an unbelievable talent.
People, obviously they're saying about how many days he's had the title. There's so many detractors. For the most part, everyone's behind the lad. I've seen a lot of negative about him. Old time fans that have just seen a photo, but they've not actually seen what he can do. I won't have it. I try and stay away from the comments, but people were knocking him. I was like, you haven't seen him wrestle. You haven't seen what he's about as a
performer. Yeah. He's got the full package though, dude. He can talk on the mic. He looks great. He's great in the ring. Yeah, a phenomenal athlete that I think we're going to have the pleasure of, having around for a very long time. So I certainly think him. If you want to go a little bit younger, I'm surprised Tyler Bate hasn't, gone further so far. Still only 23.
Yeah, all that with the UK tournament so early on. I feel you, because he's incredible. Ela Dragunov as well, but obviously he's he's not been there as long, has he? But no. I feel you on the Tyler Bate one. He should be.
Yeah. I would already be putting, if it was me, because obviously Devlin's moved on now to NXT. I think Tyler should definitely 110% be following him without a shadow of a doubt. Tyler's worthy of a title shot for me. The guy's a freak of nature. I mean, if you imagine a match between him and Will Ospreay now, these days, I mean, that would be, I would pay 20 quid for that,
Easy.
Just phenomenal. So yeah, I think those, it's a very sporadic, broken up list. But I think those are the guys certainly that I think are going to carry the future for the world of wrestling at the moment. But I'll tell you what, dude, I haven't really mentioned them. I'm really enjoying AEW at the moment.
Absolutely.
I'm really enjoying it so much. And again, I think what they're doing that's so cool is they're bringing in the local talent for wherever they are and stuff to wrestle some of their bigger names. And I think that's really cool because it's giving them exposure. I mean, and then you look, they brought in Christy Janes, who, she was just a local talent, but she's been on AEW Dark for like 4 weeks now. By the time this was recorded anyway. And she's, again, phenomenal in the ring. So yeah, I think, the stories that they're creating, it feels a lot like WCW of old, it really does. Which I think, I don't know if that's what they were going for, but it's certainly why I think I've been so hooked on it. And Tony Schiavone back on a mic. That guy was my childhood and now is my adulthood. It's just incredible. Him and JR together. It's the perfect matchup, dude.
Do you know what? It was cool, obviously, they weren't flying JR in, were they, for a while? When it was Schiavone and Jericho doing commentary. It was absolutely brilliant. Like, it's so... Jericho will turn his hand to anything. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the back and forth. And then when Jericho was moaning about Aubrey Edwards officiating and all daft little things. Oh.
Yeah. No, Jericho is gold. He's a rare talent, I feel. Not just in wrestling, but just in general. I mean, his band is phenomenal. And... and then you go into his wrestling, his acting, his interviewing, his commentating. He can do it all.
Just remember with Fozzy, it was all covers originally, and then
it was
got to really. I obviously listened to stuff prior, but Edge said this as well on Jericho's DVD years ago. Chasing the Grail, when they released that and the tracks on it, and he said it'll go pound for pound with anything in rock, and he was right. He was right.
Spot on.
Great album.
Yeah, it was.
All the albums, they've all had something different.
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic. I was very lucky to meet Jericho backstage. I worked at Download Festival a few years back. And, I'm just walking past him. And there's a story. I was watching Alter Bridge. I was standing on stage watching Alter Bridge. One of the most incredible moments of my life, Stu, this was. So because I was working, I was lucky enough to be on stage. So to the left of me was Jericho and Michael Starr of Steel Panther. To the right of me was Liv Tyler. And so I've said hello to Jericho. We're chatting just a little bit, nothing too major. And anyway, me and Liv Tyler are taking a photo at the same time during our favourite song, Blackbird. And she says, I always get so emotional during this song. And I'm like, yeah, me too, as I'm trying to hold tears back. And anyway, I was just like, I said, I kind of started expressing then, I just can't believe I'm standing on stage and watching my favourite band surrounded by all these amazing people. This is incredible. And I'm really, I'll be honest, mate, I'm very confident with women. And I've always been able to talk and be quite, outgoing with the ladies. And Liv Tyler hugged me. I wasn't expecting it. And I just went, oh, thanks. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my. She was like, that's so sweet, and then hugged me. I was just like, oh yeah, thanks.
Get a bit flustered, Simon.
I did, mate. I did. But yeah, so that was a moment, mate, that I will never forget. Just being able to have that moment with the likes of Jericho, Liv Tyler, Michael Starr, just watching my favourite band, 2 meters away. It was phenomenal. So, but yeah, he's a lovely guy as well. Jericho, very, very nice guy.
I went to see Fozzy years ago up in Wrexham. So it's only like 45 minutes away, Wrexham, from here. So yeah. Do you know what? I thought the place was going to be packed. I couldn't believe it. Half full probably. But then
okay.
They did Chester Live Rooms a couple of years ago at a bigger venue, and it sold out. I was just surprised. It was off the back of Chasing the Grail. So 2010 time. Oh, they moved the stage forward and everything. I was shocked.
Wow.
I was shocked because that venue was always sold out. I don't know what the problem was. Great night.
I can imagine. I mean, maybe it was just. I mean, Fozzy are very big in obviously Canada and America, aren't they? I do feel that they get some exposure over here, but not as much as they probably deserve.
No.
So it could be that, really. Who knows? People know Jericho more for his wrestling, don't they? So
that's it, man. There was a guy with a Y2J ice hockey jersey at the front going ballistic. That was quite funny. Oh yeah, there we go.
I can imagine.
There we go.
I can imagine.
Simon,
mind you, Jericho did give me one of the biggest. I had one of the biggest pops ever watching wrestling, and it was Jericho. Is when he turned up for the first time on WWE, and he did the countdown clock, facing backwards, and I was just, I think I was very young, but I remember jumping out of my seat screaming.
WCW all over that. Just didn't do with people. That guy, when he was cutting all the promos at the White House, gold.
Yeah, perfect, mate, absolutely perfect.
Why the hell?
And for me, I loved WCW to a point, but then you do look back these days, and you go, how did you mess that up? There were a few times, mate, where WCW could still be alive now, to be honest, if it was in better hands or a bit more organised.
I'm with you on that, absolutely. Right, Simon, I've got a question here. What are your tips for budding broadcasters, people that want to go into the industry of broadcasting?
So I get asked this quite a bit, actually. One thing I always say is you get out what you put in, so whether it's, your girlfriend having a moan or whatever because you're spending 14 hours doing your work, sometimes that needs to be the case in this industry. Another thing is what I would say is, there's always room for improvement. No one is ever the finished product. Research is your biggest tool in this industry. Like, I still today watch all of the people that have influenced me over the years. I still watch the people that, I'm not particularly interested in, but they're doing really good things, that they're very good at their jobs, because it helps me be a better person. It helps me put a twist on what I want to do and evolve my, personality and just be a good person. And yeah, I guess the other piece of advice is stay true. Stay true to yourself. It's a very difficult industry, but if you put the work in and you're honest and you want to learn, people will help you. And practice. If you're around the house on your own, get your phone, record a load of stuff, learn from it. I still do demos, dude, like for radio now, and I've been in it for about 13 years, and I still do demos and listen back and go, oh man, need to change that. There's always room for improvement. So always practice, be honest and true to yourself. And if you want to succeed in it, you will get there if you put the work in.
Sound advice for a man who's been doing it for many years, and you know what I mean. You've worked for some big companies along the way, so
yeah, it's been a tough journey, mate.
Testament to you and you wanting it, mate.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, dude. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been hard work, dude. There's been a lot of tears along the way, and a lot of harsh lessons that I've learned along the way as well. People may not know that I had to leave Kerrang in the end by my own doing, but it opened other doors, and there's no bad blood or anything like that. I still speak to a lot of the guys, but it's one of those, mate, where you as long as you learn from your mistakes, you will always be okay. And it's been, I still get moaned at by family, friends, the other half that I spend too much time working, but that's who I am, dude. So I have been since I was 19 years old, and I think I'll continue to be that way because I just have a love, passion, desire for this business.
I'm gonna in this bit of a closing question. I came up with this one. You might have been asked. You might have been asked recently. I'm going to ask anyway. What have you been watching on the box? Netflix, Sky, Prime, you name it, which isn't wrestling related. What have you liked watching during lockdown?
I'll be honest. So I've been binging a lot of Disney.
Okay.
A lot of Disney Plus. The fact that it's got all 34 or 36 seasons of The Simpsons on there is a great bonus. But yeah, I love documentaries. So I watched the Walt Disney documentary. If you haven't whoever's watching this, if you haven't watched that yet, I think it's called The Imagineering. After you've watched this podcast, go and watch it. It's phenomenal. Walt Disney worked until the day he passed away. He never got to see his ultimate dream, which was Florida. But wow, just what Disney has done for this world, some people don't realize. It's incredible. So that, like I said, I do like a lot of my documentaries, a lot of the whole crime documentaries and things like that. So there's a lot of good watches around on Netflix. A lot of the new stuff is very, very captivating. I don't want to kind of put names because it's very, some of it's quite disturbing subjects for some. But yeah, some of the new stuff on Netflix, people will understand, is very captivating, eye-opening, very upsetting in some ways. But just watching a lot of stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Disney, dude. I mean, there's so much good stuff on there.
Have you had the Mighty Ducks on?
Oh, mate. So the first day.
Please tell me.
I have.
Yes, come on, Simon, lad.
The first day Disney Plus went live in the UK, I had DuckTales, Mighty Ducks, and That's So Raven.
That's So Raven, yeah. Remember it well.
Yeah. Those are my first three shows that I watched, and I was just like, man, this is such a throwback. That you can't, dude. The Mighty Ducks was my childhood. Like, I never had an interest in ice hockey really as a kid, but I had the full gear because of the Mighty Ducks.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it was good, man. It was good. It's good to relive that nostalgia again.
Simon, I want you to plug all your socials, merchandise, where the podcast is as well. Just plug everything as a whole, where they can find you, the viewers, the listeners.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So, on social, I'm mainly a bit of a Twitter nerd, to be honest. I love Twitter. Simon H Official. Actually, everything Simon H Official. Instagram, Facebook pages. The works, mate. Twitter's obviously the big one. Merch. I do have my own merch. There's which you can find on Pins and Knuckles Wrestling. You know what's really cool about that? So I was so overwhelmed that they asked me. They wanted to interview me when they added me to their page. They made my own section of just presenters, and I'm the only one there at the moment. So you need to get on there, Stu. Which was just, I was just like, the effort that people go, and lengths they go for you is just so humbling. Pins and Knuckles Wrestling merch is on there. What else have I got? Yeah, the podcast. Yeah, I do that, don't I? I forgot about that. YouTube. I have, mate. Yeah. So yeah, it's called Keep It Locked with Simon Hill. Obviously, it was previously Gone Gold. All episodes are still on there, the Gone Gold ones as well as the new ones. That's on YouTube. That is on Turnbuckle TV. where you can watch your favourite wrestlers just like this. You can watch your favourite wrestlers kind of in the moment, all those facial expressions and their lovely, beautiful faces. If you don't have time to just sit there on YouTube and Turnbuckle TV, you can listen to it on iTunes, Spotify. I mean, all the other streaming services, TuneIn and Podcatcher and all that sort of stuff, and Deezer and Stitcher. It's available on everything. So yeah, Keep It Locked with Simon Hill podcast, absolutely everywhere. Apart from that, that's me, dude. That's just me in a nutshell, really.
It's cool. It's cool. Right. My guest this afternoon on Stu's Wrestling Podcast, the host of Keep It Locked with Simon Hill and the host of TNT Barbed Wire, Mr. Simon Hill. Thank you for coming on today, fella.
I really appreciate it, man. This has been so much fun, dude. Really, really has. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
A big thank you to Stephen Ash and Ed Dowling for producing the track. It's Stu's Wrestling Podcast, the theme. So thank you very much for that, lads. Much appreciated. Love it. It fits really well, so cheers. Thanks to you. Big thank you to Mike Angus for the show intro, as always. Superb. Chris Dutton, thank you very much for editing once again. Appreciate it, buddy. And also to Lee, who does my website. Lee puts the stuff up on the website. Without you guys, I'd be screwed. So once again, as always, appreciate everything you do for me and the time you spend doing the things you do for me. It means a lot, guys.